Welcome everyone. Today we're going to discuss about the economics and which macroeconomics, which is very much important for economic thinking. Understand economics and scarcity. Scarcity means that there are never enough resources to satisfy all human wants. Every society, every level must make choice about how to use its resources. Economics is the study of the trade-off and the choice that we make give the fact of scarcity. Cost is what we give up when we choose one thing over another. Goods and resources. Economic goods and resources a consumer must pay to obtain, also called scare goods. Free goods or resources that a consumer can obtain for free because they are abundant relative to the demand. Productive resources, the input used in the productive of the goods and services should make a portfolio: land, economic capital, labors, and entrepreneurship, also called factor of production. Productive resources. Four productive resources, also called factor of production. Land, any natural resources including actual lands but also free plant livestock, wind, sun, water, etc. Economic capital, anything that manufactured in order to be used in the production of the goods and services. Note that distinctions between financial capitals, which is not productive, and economics capital, which means is not directly productive, the tools and machinery that it buy can be. Labor, any human services, physical or intellectual, also referred to as human capital. Entrepreneurship, the ability of the someone on entrepreneur to recognize a portfolio opportunity to organize the other factors of productions and accept risk. Concept of opportunity cost. Opportunity cost, the value of the next best alternative. Individual decision. In some cases, recognizing the opportunity cost can alter personal behaviors. Social decision. Opportunity cost comes into the play with social decisions. Universal healthcare would be nice, but the opportunity cost of such a decision would be less housing, environmental protection, natural defense. These trade-offs also arise with government policies. Labor markets and trade, the division and specialization of the labor. Division of the labor, the way in which the work required to produce a good or services in dividends into task performed of by different works. Specialization, when workers or the firm focus on particular task for which they are well suited within the overall productions process. Why the division of the labor increase production? Economics of scale, when the average cost of production is individual unit declines as total output increase. Labor market and the trade and market. Specialization only makes sense if workers and other economic agents such as business and the nations can use their income to purchase the other goods and services they need. Specialization requires trade. The market allows you to learn a specialization set of skills and then use the pay use receive to buy the goods and services you need or want. This is how our moderate society has evolved into a strong economy. Microeconomics and macroeconomics. Micro versus macro. Macroeconomics, the branch of economics that focus on the broad issues such as growth, unemployment, inflation, and trade balance. Microeconomics, the branch of economics that focus on actions of particular agents within the economy like household, workers, and the business. We learn about the theory of consumer behavior and theory of firm. Understand microeconomics. Question to ask with microeconomics. What is determined how households and individuals spend their budget? What combinations of the goods and services will best fit their needs and wants, give the budget they have to spend? How do people decide whether to work, and if so, whether to work full-time or part-time? How do people decide how much to save for the future, whether they have borrowed to spend beyond their current means? Understanding microeconomics context. For microeconomics question, what determine the product and how many of each a farm will produce and sell? What determine what prices a farm will charge? What determine how a farm will produce its products? What determine how many workers it will hire? How will a farm finance its business? When will a farm decide to expand downstream, downside, and even close? Macroeconomics policy pursue its goals through monetary policy and fiscal policy. Monetary policy that involve attending the level of interest rate, the availability of create in economy and the extent of borrowing. Fiscal policy, economic policy that involve government spending using economic model. Economic model, a specific versions of reality that allow us to observe, understand, and make predictions about economic behavior. Economic model and math. Economic models can be represents using words and or using mathematics, algebra, and groups are utilizing to explain economic model. Using economic model example, circular flow diagrams. A diagram indicating that the economy consists of the household and farm interacting in a goods and services market and a labor market. Goods and service market, also called the product market, in which farm sells or household buy. Labor market, in which household sell labor to business firm or other employees. Real world, there are many different market for goods and services and market for many different type of labors. The circular flow diagram simplifies these distinctions in order to make the picture easier to grasp. Wages, salary, benefit, goods and services, labor, services, household and farm, payment for the goods and services. Purpose of function, a relationship and expressions involvement one or more verbals. In economic function frequently describe cause and effect. The variable of the left hand side in what the begin example, on the right hand side it what doing the explanations. Economic model tend to express relationship using economic variables such as budget equal to money spent on books plus money spent on music. Solve simple equations. Order of operation. When you solve an equations, it's important to do each operation in the following order: simple inside partnerless and the brackets, simple the exponent, multiply and divided from the left to right, add and subtend from the left to right. Lines in the course, the most common equation you will see if is for a line in grocery. Understanding variable, a quality that can assume a range of value represented by a letter or a symbol. Working with variables, when you trying to solve an equations with one or more variable, you need to isolate the value. What does the x equation is y equals to $12. Intercept, the point on a graph where a line cross the vertical axis and horizontal axis. Slope, the change is the vertical axis divided by the change in the horizontal axis. Variable, a quantity that can assume a range of values. X-axis, the horizontal line on a graph, commonly represent quantity of the graph in economy. A y-axis, the vertical line on a graph, commonly represent price on a graph in economics. Equation for a line, y is equal to mx plus b. In any equation for a line, m is the slope and the b is the y-intercept. Intercept graph on economy. It is rare for real world data point to arrange themselves as a preferably strategic line. It often turns out that a strategic line can offer a responsible approximations of actual data. Interpretation signals. What the slope means: the change in the vertical axis divided by the change in the horizontal axis. Positive slope indicate that the two variables are positive related. When one variable increase, so does the other, and when one variable decrease, the other also decreases. Interpreting slope, negative slope. What the slope means: the change is the vertical axis divided by the change in the horizontal axis. Negative slope indicate that the two variables are negatively related. When one variable increase, the other decrease, and when one variable decrease, the other increase. Interpreting slope of zero. What the slope means: the change in the vertical axis divided by the change in the horizontal axis. Slope of zero indicate that there is a constant relationship between two variables. When one variable changes, the other does not changes. Calculating slope. The slope of a straight line between 2 points can be calculated in numerical terms. To calculate slope, beings designate one point as the strategic point and the other point as the end point, and calculating the rise over run between these 2 points. Interpreting slope. Graph of a economic relationship are not always strategic lines but often non-linear lines. Can interpret non-linear or relationship similarly to the way we interpret linear relationship. The slope can be positively or negatively. We can calculate the slope similarly also looking at the rise over the run of a segment of a curve. Interpreting slope, non-linear relationship. Non-linear relationship can be interpreted similar to the linear relationship. The slope can be positive or negative. We can calculate the slope similarly also looking on the rise over the run of a segment of a curve. A higher positive slope means a steeper upward tip to the curve, which you can see at higher output levels. A negative slope that is larger in absolute value means a steeper downward tilt to the line. Interpreting a slope, non-linear relationship. Non-linear relationship can be interpreted similar to the linear relationship. A slope of the zero is a horizontal line. A vertical line has an initiative slope. If a line has a large interpretation graphically, it would shift out from the old origins parallel to the old line. If a line has a similar smaller intercept, it would shift in parallel to the old line. Type of graph line. Line graph show a relationship between two variables, one measured on the horizontal axis and other measured on the vertical axis. Sometimes it used to show more than one set of data at the same axis. Sometimes it is useful to show more than one set or data on the same axis. The data in the table below is a display in figures which shows the relationship between two variables, length and media weight for American body boys and girls during the first 3 years of life. Type of graphic line. The line graph measure length in increasing on the horizontal axis and weight in pounds on the vertical axis. For example, point A on the figure shows that a boy who is 28 inches long will have an median weight about 19 pounds. One line is a graph show the length weight relationship for boys, and the other line shows the relationship for girls. The kind of a graph is widely used by healthcare provisions to check whether a child physical development roughly on track. So type of graph pi is used to show how an overall total is divided into parts, and circle represent a group as a whole. This pie graph shows how the US population was divided among children, as well as in a pie graph, each side of the pie represents a share of the totals. Pie graph. The three pie graphs show that the share of the US population 65 and overall growing. The pie graph allow you to get a free for the relative size of the different age of group peoples. And the type of the bar graph can be subdivided into a way that relevant information similar to that we can get from pie charts. It is sometimes easier to a reader to run his or her eyes across several bar graphs. The three bar graphs are based on the information from the three about US age distribution 1970, 2000, and 2030. The bar graph are especially useful when comparing quantitative. For example, if you are studying the populations of different countries, bar graph can show the relationship between the population size of multiple countries. Not only can it shows that relationship, but it can also show breakdowns in different groups within the populations. Line graph are often the most effective format for illustrating or a relationship of the two variables that are both changing. If you want to do the quick review, what we find what is scarcity, what are the productive resources, what is the opportunity cost, why do trade and market exist, what is the difference between macroeconomics and microeconomics, why our economics model are useful for economists, what are common economics model, how our equations are function used to describe relationship, what proper order of operation is used while solving simple equations, how does a graph shows, how do you difference between a positive relationship and a negative relationship, how do you interpret economic informations on a graphic. If we can understand these things in an effective way and we can take real explanations of the economics, that time we can take real measure. And when we can take the real measure, that times we can actually take a lot of initiative and we can solve many problems together. So this is ultimately the objective of School of Talent Economy. We can figure out the problems and want to come up with the solutions. So economic issues is everywhere. If we can solve the economic issues in an effective way, that time we can solve many of the proper solutions and we can make a better ecosystem. So thank you everyone. If you have any kind of questions or anything, you can ask me.